Hello everyone, it's Vince Signing again, and welcome back to Random Imposter Critiques. Um, I apologize in advance for basically, the bright light shining. I wanted to kind of set the mood with having, black room and just me reading here, but unfortunately, then there is no, like, dim light I could basically use to help do that. Like, right now, my lamp's just facing against the wall. This is as dark as I could get without completely hiding my face. And the only reason I'm really doing the webcam thing again is because when I see a certain story of interest, I want to actually show my genuine reaction, my facial reactions to it. And the only reason that this story has taken interest, because again, random pause critique, I found this by clicking the random pause, is that it has 79 comments, and this is the first time on this wiki that I've gotten this right here, this not safe for work warning, which means that there's some pretty fucked up shit might happen. Now there's some stories that do it well, and there's some stories that do it poorly, exceptionally poorly. Laughing Jack, and anything that Snuff Bomb writes really, but that doesn't mean that basically harsh language or gore or overt sexual themes are negative attributes in a horror story. So I was interested to see what, like, if it's saying giving me a warning, then it must have something that's worthy of a decent reaction. So let's get into it. And if what you're hearing right now, basically, although you probably can already tell, that is ambiance I have in the background. That's not actually rain. So let's begin. So yes, the girl of my dreams. Back in 2010, I graduated high school. I had a whole life ahead of me. I had so many possibilities down the line of my life. My parents loved me, there was a woman I loved, and I was a pretty smart guy. It was 2010. This is 2014. In the 4 years since then, I've accomplished exactly nothing. I haven't gone to college, haven't got a job, haven't received a single paycheck, and haven't even gotten my driver's license. My love life is even more pathetic. Never gotten laid, never been on a date, never kissed a woman, never even held a woman's hand. The truth is, I'm just as successful as I was when I was 7. I'm getting real dating game vibes with this, and that's not a good thing. Because I fucking hate a dating game. I'm what you'd call a loser. My entire life is consumed with TV, video games, and computer. Every day, I realize I could and should be out in the world doing things. I say to myself every day that I'll do it tomorrow. I'll get a job tomorrow. I'll lose some weight tomorrow. I'll sign up for college tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes. This is hitting me hard because, yeah, this is basically describing the story of my own personal life. Um, Instead, my life exists in a perpetual cycle. I wake up around noon, microwave something frozen for breakfast, use a computer, play some video games for hours and hours, then go to bed. My parents are desperate to see me get out and get a job, and as I said, I know full well that I should, but there's just no motivation. I'm what you call stuck. I became so pathetic that I was dreaming of sex more often than not. I always considered myself a guy of high morals, and I didn't just want to fuck like that. I always considered myself a romantic. Sure, getting laid would be great, but I'd like something more than that. This is partially where my story begins. I was talking to Trent, a guy I knew from high school. I moved away after high school, so I didn't have much contact with my own classmates aside from the internet. He asked me now how I was doing, and the subject of dating came up. I couldn't tell him that I'd never done anything in that department at all, so I told him I did have a girlfriend. That night, I had a dream about the girl I described to him. It was nice. The next night, I had a weird dream where I talked to Trent. We were in what looked like it to be a funeral, in a room that was a mix between my grandma's living room and the church. I couldn't actually hear him saying anything, but I responded as if I know that the conversation was going the way it had in real life. A few other guys I knew from high school began hooting and hollering when I said I had a girlfriend. This is where my story truly begins. It was a day after I had had a dream. A day after I had that dream, excuse me. As per usual, I was browsing the internet. I'd settled for my usual message boards, nothing out of the ordinary. For the first time in months, I received a message from somebody on King's Bazaar. I'm not well known there and I don't post often, so I didn't know why anyone would be contacting me. When I opened the message, it was from a user named LDM43. What a weird name. Their avatar, signature, and everything else in their profile was sugary, cutesy pink. Their avatar was a baby kitten with angel wings on a pink cloud. I nearly gagged at how overly sweet this was. I took note that her profile was fully fleshed out, but they had no posts and any other sort of interaction with the site, from the looks of things. The message they sent me was something that didn't exactly make any sense to me until much later. Am I really your girlfriend? Oh, I swear you won't regret it. I love you too, and I think we'll be very happy together. Danielle. I figured this might be some spam or something, so I deleted the message and went about my business. 2 days later, I got another message from LDM43. Hey, how come you never responded? You said I was your girlfriend. Talk to you soon. Danielle. What a pessimistic, oddly specific spam bot. I never seen a spam bot employ continuity before. But then again, I feared it was still spam and simply deleted the message. Maybe I'll respond if they message me again. Message me again, they did. The day after that, I received another message. This time, a bit different from the last ones. Why won't you talk to me? I thought we were in love. We were meant to be, Daniel. We even had the same name. Now please stop being silly and talk to me. Danny. This couldn't be a spam bot. No spam bot can guess your name. It could have been a lucky guess, but holy shit, that would be the king of all coincidences. I was apprehensive to respond to this girl. I had no idea who she was or how she knew who I was. There was something very suspicious about this whole thing. I decided to contact a forum moderator. I explained to the mod that I had never told anyone online my name and had nothing connecting my real life to my internet life, and that there was no way that they could know it was me, even if I did know them in real life. The mod said he'd run an IP check on LDM43. After a short while, the mod got back to me. According to them, the messages being sent to my IP were being sent from my IP address. I insisted that it had to be a mistake. Was someone pirating my internet or something? What would that even lead them to registering? Even lead them to registering the same IP? None of this made any sense. I decided to message her back. Who are you exactly? How do you know my name? Why do you have the same IP address as me? I'm your girlfriend. We're love. You told me so. Of course, I know my true love's name. Of course I know my true love's name. Stop saying that. I don't know anyone named Danielle. I think you've got the wrong person. Why are you saying things like this? Is there somebody else? At this point, I decided to ignore her. It was better to simply cut all ties now. Something weird was going on, but putting it entirely in the past would get me out of that, right? I decided to simply go to bed then. Everything was normal for a few days afterwards. This is where the real trouble started. I visited King's Bazaar to see a new thread. Troubling news was on the title. Dear users of King's Bazaar, we have received troubling news from the police. King's Bazaar moderator Chana Floy, real name Justin Weber, was found dead in his home in Traverse City, Michigan yesterday. The police say it was a homicide. Details of his death will not be discussed further here. Our condolence goes out to Justin Weber's friends and family. Rest in peace, brother. Chana Floy was the mod I asked for help with Danielle. Now, this is way too much of a coincidence. I didn't want to read the thread. I couldn't shake the feeling that Danielle was somehow involved in this. If I was right, I involved him in it and got him killed. I didn't want to read the thread and see the sadness in the people whose friend may have taken away. I didn't read the thread until I noticed something that chilled me a bit. Last post by LDM43, 1 minute ago. What would she say? I was almost mortified by the idea. So so sorry to hear about Chugafloy. Chunafloy. I keep thinking Chugga Conroy, I'm sorry. Chunafloy. He was the best mod, even though he tended to look too deeply into things. R.I.P. You tend to look too deeply into things. What the hell did that mean? I decided to send her a message. Who the hell are you and what did you do? I'm your girlfriend, like I said. I can't wait for us to be more. Sometimes people learn not to stick their noses where they don't belong. Now was time to get the police involved. It became obvious to me at this point that she somehow found out Jenna Floyd ran her IP direct and killed him for it. But how? How did she know? I contacted the police and showed them the PMs between me and her. Now she essentially confessed the involvement of Jenna Floyd's death. They took it into consideration and just said they'd get back to me on it. They got back to me on it a few days later. They said they found my fingerprints at the crime scene. Jenna Floyd lives in Michigan, somewhere I've never been and don't live anywhere near. How the hell got my fingerprints there? Now things were making less sense than ever. I'm not complaining about the story. I'm just calling it. Desperate for a girlfriend, develop a split personality that is his girlfriend. I'm calling it. The police considered me a suspect, but not a strong one, even with the physical evidence. They placed his death at 9:43 in the morning, a time when I was asleep, and I had been awake at my house around 1 p.m. Police understood that there was no way I could have made it up to Michigan, committed a murder, and made it back home in a few hours, all without anybody noticing. The investigation hit a roadblock. As the person the evidence was screaming towards had a indisputable alibi, and combined with the IP addressing, there was no real evidence that the other suspect even existed. The police were under the impression that I had been sending those messages to myself, but I had no answers as to how I could have committed the murder. But had no answers. Up in the corner of my King's Bazaar page, I noticed something that made me do a double take. My mail icon indicated 26 new messages. Are you mad at me? I didn't mean to do anything bad. I'm sorry, but people need to learn. If you know it'll scare you off, I'm sorry. Danny, talk to me. Where are you? Danny, don't do this. Why are you mad? He deserved it. People shouldn't get in the way of true love. Danny, this doesn't have to affect anything. We can still be together. We will still be together. Wouldn't it be why be the perfect wife for you? I'll do anything you want. Danny, I'm so hungry for you. Danny, I'm already yours to do whatever you want to. Danny, I want you inside me so bad. I can already feel you. Oh no, Danny, I'm blushing. You're so cute with your fluster. I can only imagine what you taste like. Danny, your picture still gets the job done every time. What the fuck? I'm sorry. What the fuck? All 26 of those messages were listed as having been sent in a span of 1 minute and a half. Something was really wrong about this. I never posted any pictures of myself online, not even on Facebook. I decided I wanted nothing to do with this anymore. I decided I'd leave King's Bazaar and just block her to be safe. I tried to go on with my life for what little I had. For weeks I chatted up a few people I knew from high school, moved into a new site, kept a fairly low profile. The new site I got into was Black Pond Road. It was a simple place, similar to King's Bazaar. I befriended a guy named Brusque. Brusque was a smart guy who knew a lot about the site's subject, although he was a bit of a grammar Nazi. A few weeks after I became involved in Black Pond Road, I saw something that made my blood cold for a few seconds. Newest member, LDM 43. How? How could she have followed me here? I wasn't even using the same screen name. How could she have been... How was she tracking where I was going? I thought about reporting her to the site staff, telling them that there was a person who had harassed me in the past, but I knew that doing that might get somebody else killed. Within a few minutes of joining the site, her profile page was already completely filled out with all the sugary pink details from King's Bazaar. I'd watched apprehensively for days. She never made any move. She never contacted me or posted anything. I began to try and distance myself from Black Pond Road, but I didn't want to drop out of it completely. I would do that when I needed to. For months, I went on without anything odd happening. Danielle seemed content to simply observing what I was doing. I began to have odd dreams. A young black-haired girl would walk into my bedroom while I was sleeping and entertain me. She looked to be in her late teens or late 20s. I had no idea why I kept having this dream. I never really had recurring dreams before, but considering the subject matter, I didn't really mind. I hope that doesn't mean what I think it does. One day in June, I got a message from Trent. He asked me how my new girlfriend was doing. Still intent on keeping up the masquerade, I told him that she was doing fine. He asked her what her name was. For some reason that I still can't not explain, I told him her name was Danielle. Danielle. When the message was over, I wondered out loud why the fuck I did that. From what I gathered, Danielle seemed to be watching me, so saying that would probably fuel her fire. One new message. Danny, I'm so happy you love me enough to tell your friends about me. I'm so happy that your heart sings when you think of me, the way mine does when I think of you. Hugs and kisses. I'm a fucking idiot. I knew I would have to watch what I said from now on. I still have no clue how she could possibly be watching me, but I was positive that she was. I blocked her on Black Pond Road as well. I had no idea if that would accomplish anything, but I did it anyway. I had to find some way of getting away from her. Being pursued was cool and all, but not by somebody who was apparently willing to kill. 3 days went by with no contact from Danielle. On the third day, Trent contacted me. The subject came up, and I told him that I had broken up with Danielle. He said that it was too bad and the subject was dropped. What else could I do? It was the best way to avoid talking to her. I had to make it clear that she wouldn't be getting what she wanted. A few days later, Trent sent me a link to a news story. A girl named Megan Harris from my town was found murdered. The murderer was described less as a murder and more as a torture session. That said, she was found strapped to a table, naked, with her mouth and eyes sewn shut. She had sharp objects sticking in almost every square inch of her skin. According to the autopsy, someone smashed her teeth with sealed lips with a blunt object, probably a hammer, forcing her to choke on pieces of her teeth. Megan Harris was the first girl I ever had a crush on back in 2nd grade. That was also the last time I ever seen her. This fact led me to believe that Danielle may have somehow been involved again. The place I went to high school, the town I was originally born, was nowhere near Michigan where I live now. If Danielle was really the killer, wherever she was, she really got around. The troubling part is that there's no way she could have known that I was ever interested in Megan. Nobody could have known that. I never told anybody. I didn't even remember how I found out until she died. How I found out she died. Not only does Danielle know more about me than she should, she knows more than is even possible. Now I was truly starting to get scared. I was no longer asking who Danielle was as much as what she was. This was no longer strange. Now it seemed truly unnatural. I thought long and hard about my next course of action. What do you think did it? I messaged Trent. They have no idea. They don't have any idea, he messaged back. While I was attempting to think of something else to say to him, he messaged me back again. Hold on, somebody's here. Trent left for a while. In the meantime, I began talking to Bruce. After talking to Bruce, he said something that raised a red flag. So Dan, what do you think of the new series? Bruce doesn't know my name. I've never told him and he'd had no way of finding out. Bruce, did you just call me Dan? Oops. Caught. It couldn't have been her. But what happened to Brusque? Danielle? Is that you? Uh-huh. You wouldn't talk to me, so I had to impersonate somebody you would. Pretty clever, huh? Where is Brusque? Well, I couldn't impersonate him with him standing there, duh. So I had to get him out of the way. What did you do to him? Well, we'll just say he went a little out of his skull. I blocked the Brusque account right there. She killed somebody else I knew, I assume. What could I do? Would she just keep killing people? Why? Finally, Trent got back to me. I just saw something really fucked up. Take a look. Included a link to a news article. A porn star by the name of Cheyenne Pepper of Cheyenne Pepper was found murdered on the set. She had been stabbed a grand total of 196 times. Without sounding too weird, Cheyenne Pepper was my favorite porn star. The weirdest thing about this case was the studio was already running it when it happened. So, if I make up an imaginary girlfriend, will Mercedes Guerrero eventually get murdered? Tish. The weirdest thing about the case was the studio was actually running when it happened. Cheyenne had apparently only been on set alone for a few minutes before she was found that way. There was no struggle, no suspects, no nothing. I once again couldn't help but assume Danielle had something to do with this. Trent ended the conversation with a little more banter. He says he was tired and went to bed. Who the fuck was this Danielle girl? What was she? I opened my Black Pound window and decided to try something. I unblocked Danielle's account, allowing everything she posted or sent to me to be visible. 863 messages. Daniel, what the fuck do you mean we're not together anymore? Daniel, fucking answer me. Daniel, you promised we'd live together forever. Be together forever. Daniel, fucking talk to me. You fucking user. Danielle, I'm going to get mad. Daniel, please respond. If you don't answer, I'm going to be mad. Daniel, you're starting to piss me off. Daniel, I'll start to do things. Daniel, I'm bleeding now. Look what you did. Daniel, I'm coming for you. Daniel, I'm sorry. I don't mean it. Daniel, I know I still love you, and we can still work. It can still work. Please respond, please. Daniel, if you don't respond, I'll fucking kill you. Daniel, look what you made me do. I think she's dead. Daniel, I'm so sorry. I just get so mad. Daniel, please forgive me. I don't mean it. Daniel, please respond. Daniel, please respond. Daniel, please respond. Daniel, please respond. I flipped through the messages. It just goes on like that for the rest of the chain. What the fuck? This person, or whatever it was truly deranged. I re-blocked her and went to bed. She was driving me crazy. The next day I got a message from Trent. Right away I could tell there was something off. Hey man, how's the girl you're dating? I told you I broke up with her. Well, don't you think that was cruel? You don't even know her, man. I think I know her well enough. She showed her hand. Is this Danielle again? Is Trent dead? Of course he is, silly! After all, he's a bad influence on you. He gives you silly ideas like breaking up with me. I had to get rid of him. Why? Why are you doing these things? Because I love you, of course, Danny. But why? You don't. How do you even know me? We've never even met. I know you well enough, Danny. Now stop being silly. I'm sorry I got mad at you. I can't stay mad at you. I forgive you for breaking up with me. We were never dating. Of course we were. You told me we were. You don't exist. I lied to Trent. I told him I was dating somebody to make myself look good. We were never together because you aren't supposed to be real. Of course, baby. I'm what you asked for. I'm the answer to your prayers. Oh, BTW? Baby, I hope you're not jealous. But I saw your friend's wiener. When he's out of the shower, I got to him. It was so embarrassing. Well, I've got the blood all over me, honey. I'm gonna take a shower. Wanna join me? Just kidding. She cut the conversation there. What a goddamn lunatic. They found Bruss's body stuffed in a bedroom closet. He had been cut in half with a saw, the top half found in his lap. It turns out his real name was Evan Porter. He lived in Florida, nowhere near the other murders. They later found Trett's body in the shower. Somebody had taken an axe to him. He was in so many pieces that he was barely recognizable. There was evidence that somebody had used the shower after killing him, but they don't know who. This continued for weeks. People earlier, people I knew from online, they were being picked off and murdered in brutal ways, and they never found any evidence of who was doing it beside my fingerprints. It was very soon that they kept me under investigation. When it was clear that some of the murders were taking place, and when I was being directly involved, they let me go. They figured that somebody else was trying to frame me somehow. What could I possibly do about this? Just killing people basically because I knew them. I was so alone. Now even more so. Most of the few people I know were dead now. I decided to take one course of action. The one I didn't think I would do. I unblocked Danielle and sent her this message. Danielle, please stop. Okay? But please stop with this. It's silly. All you're doing is hurting people. Literally within seconds, I had a response. I knew you loved me. We're officially boyfriend and girlfriend now? I had to think about how to respond. I knew no matter how I answered, there was no going back. Yes, of course we are. As I typed that, I could feel my blood curdle. Like I had just made a horrible mistake. Hey! Don't move a muscle. I'm coming over, baby. Maybe I'll wear something sexy. Maybe, assuming I wear anything at all. See you soon. An hour or so passed and I stared at the ceiling, realizing I had signed my own death certificate. This girl was clearly dangerous. She was coming over to my house. Should I prepare? Should I kill her when she got here? What would I be able to do? Was she even human? After an hour, I heard the noise coming from downstairs. Screams, thumping. She was here. And she was after my parents. What could I do? Nothing. I was paralyzed with fear. And by the time I got over that, all the noise from downstairs had ceased. They were likely dead already. And there was nothing I could do except for wait for her to come for me too. I sat upstairs in my computer chair, staring at the bedroom door. I could hear footsteps climbing the stairs. I could hear a female voice humming a tune, a happy tune. All the noise ceased as she stopped outside my bedroom door. I'm wondering what. There's got to be some kind of twist that kind of caps everything off. I closed my eyes and looked away from my door. I heard the door slowly creak open. Someone entered the room. Danny. Danny. A female voice said. I looked up to see her. Before me stood a young woman. She looked to be in her late teens, early 20s, long black hair, brown eyes, fair skin, slender body. Breasts were large but not huge. She wore a short plaid skirt and a white button shirt. Her skin and clothes were covered in blood. I stared at her, coming to a realization. She looked exactly like the girl who was appearing in my dreams. Danny, I'm so happy to see you, she said. I didn't respond. I averted my gaze down towards the floor. Danny, now we're together. Now that we're together, things can be the way they're meant to be. Nobody else is in the way. I didn't respond. I sat there in a blank expression. It's okay, Danny, she began. We're together now. Nothing will ever keep us apart again. I wasn't looking at her anymore. I felt her place a hand on my shoulder. She rubbed my shoulder, placing it on her other hand with her shoulder. I could feel she was kissing me, but I wasn't really registering it. Who are you? I'm Danielle, she said. I'm exactly what you wanted, she said, and did a subtle pose as if presenting herself to me. She was strangely bubbly for someone to just kill everybody I knew. What are you? I'm your dream girl. I'm everything you've always wanted in a woman, she said, placing herself on my bed. You begged for love and I gave it to you. You begged for a woman and here I am. What's the problem? The IP address. The fingerprints. Tried to ask. Don't you get it, Danny? You wished for me and here I am. LDM 43. Love, Daniel Morrison forever. I exist to love you, Danny. You just have to accept my love. As she said that, she subtly unbuttoned one of her shirts. I could... Fuck Lord. I couldn't help but laugh at what she was told me. I buried my hands in my face and resigned myself. She had gotten exactly what she wanted. To give me exactly what I wanted. I awoke the next morning with a cloudy head. I could feel wetness all around me and against my skin. The color red. I sat up in the bed and looked beside me. Danielle laid there naked. Why? Why had I done it? This woman had done unforgivable things to me and the people I knew. She was a murderer, a monster. I still don't even know what she really was. But here she was, naked in my bed, still soaked in the blood of her recent victims, my own parents, the same way I was. I laid back down, placing my head against my pillow. As I lay flat on my back, my head began to hurt, as it always did when I lay back like that. What did I have left to lose? She was my dream girl. She was created just for me, just to give me the love I always wanted, that I've been loved for. And she's doing just that. Was it really so bad to lose everybody else I knew in exchange for someone who truly loved me? I made my girl, and now I had to lay with her, whether I liked it or not. She was all I had left now. Maybe Danny is right. This is true love. Okay, that was The Girl of My Dreams. I don't see any credits here. Let me read the comments first. I want to see what everyone else thinks. Yandere Simulator in real life. Found the postal girls from Yandere's. Holy shit, that was fucking good. Superb. Everything was geniosa. As I kind of I mean, I kind of flip flopped with my assumption as the story went along with him being like a split personality that branched off and started killing people. I think that's because there was an episode of I think Law and Order or CSI that did something like that, where a man fell in love with his own split personality. But what do I say about this? I will see, like, the story isn't very detailed when with its presentation. Certain things are a little vague. They're meant, and it's a short story. It's allowed to skim through certain aspects, like heavy into character development. Really, what's most important is the plight of the character presented to us. And I think this story could stand to expand upon his gradual descent to madness. Now, when I say that, the whole thing with the ending, and I was really expecting a kind of a twist ending. I'm not saying it's a necessity, but to me, if you're going for a straightforward story that is, from start to finish and no real twist, no big twists and turns, it's just a simple, straightforward story. I think you need to really punch up the aspects of the story that you want to present. Like, to, I don't think there was a really strong push towards his decision at the end. Now, the story greatly hinted at that. With it's essentially him being at his last rope, dealing with this insane person and basically being fucked with the entire time. Uh, at the end, literally. But I would have liked to see more of that descent. I would like to see more of him growing more and more desperate as the story went along. There were certain notes in the story that I began to notice, like him doing double takes, his blood running cold, blocking and unblocking, certain things like that. And that's just me pointing out one or two things I noticed. If this story I put a little more foot, like, and I myself, I know what it feels to try to write a certain story, and then later on I usually look back and find that there are certain things that I really wanted to expand upon, but I limited myself for the sake of brevity. As they say, brevity is the soul of wit. But the core strength of the story comes from the plight of the narrator in this certain situation. That's one of the reasons why the characters are given very brief descriptions more than anything else. And it also makes sense considering the fact that this is telling the first person perspective, and the way that the narrator is, he's not necessarily going to fixate on certain details. I still feel that, and I don't think it's entirely unwarranted to have him be a little bit more descriptive and to have him really go into depth about certain characters and actually have us grow to actually care about those characters. This is this kind of story that I would expect to see in those Fear Street books by R.L. Stine. There was it's not a spin-off series, but it was another series that was more geared towards teenagers that R.L. Stine produced. And this seems like something that I would find I would find directly off of that. Now, I think that overall I would give this story maybe a 6.5 out of 10. I was genuinely interested in where it was going. The moments where Danielle was speaking actually did kind of make me feel a little bit, make me give me a little bit of a chill, because it was grounded in reality enough to where, yeah, like you could see someone like a demented stalker really being that kind of person and just like playfully bantering with someone whose life she's just absolutely destroying. But as I said, I would like to focus though more on that, the fact that this person is gradually destroying her life, because in the end he's really giving in to what she wants him to do, was essentially just give himself to her and just accept her love, which would be good if it would be a decent, will actually be a good ending, and will be like you would actually feel for the guy, and see that he's been just mentally broken at that point. But again, I don't think enough focus was put on the people around him. Like, if you really want it to matter to the reader, you need to really push them up and give them weight and significance towards Daniel himself. Uh, I would also like to have seen more things describing stuff outside of the context of his life, like maybe Daniel starts sending him like notes, like he'll walk by and see a note in an implausible area that kind of implies that she's close by, and that would add to the mystique of what this being is. The fact that she can be states away, but still killing people, but still sending him messages where he is. And you could add to the fact that it's an IP address. Same thing. That part actually, I honestly think, aside from now I think about it, it actually does make sense that that part is included because it's one of those things that are meant to give a reason as to why calling the police isn't the instant problem solver in this situation. Because basically they have the IP address, his fingerprints, so it's suspicious enough. It's basically deadlocking him to where there's really not much he can do. So I understand that part. But when you're gonna go with that, where basically that this person seems to be can be anywhere at once, I'd say why not go for broke and just like subtly hint that she's getting closer and closer to him. And let me like she sends some flowers at his place. She sends him pictures of that were never impossible. Like it said before, he doesn't take pictures. Apparently, takes pictures and apparently pleasures herself to him. So that could have been an interesting thing. Um, I did enjoy the story. I will say that much. I am a little bit disappointed about how it ended. Uh, but I would rather be slightly disappointed than just brutally, thoroughly irritated and annoyed. I'd say to whomever wrote this, keep up the good work. I would really like to see this. I would really like to see you expand upon this and really see what you can really do. Just let your imagination roam free. Like I think you've made a really solid story. I would like to see a little bit more. I will say this: you have managed to make a good version of that dating game. You made a character who was a self-described loser who managed to maintain my interest throughout the story without me wanting to break his nose via a headbutt to it. So I give you kudos there, and that puts you leagues above a lot of the other stories on this wiki. So, yeah, so that's all it for today. If you like this, rate, comment, subscribe, read the story for yourself because I suck at narration. So, that's it. This is Vince 12. Y'all have a nice day.